Ready?
Okay. Okay, ready?
A very boring question. According to you, what is life?
I think it's a very profound question as to what is life. I think life is all the ups and the downs which one faces during one's lifetime. Life is laughter. Life is sorrow. Life is what is unexpected, what you can never prepare for, and I think that is why to be prepared to face life, you need a different kind of education. I think what you need is not only information, not only knowledge, but how to apply that knowledge. Because life is such a dynamic flow of events that you really need to be agile and be able to observe, be able to analyze the situation, and then be able to react to it. And that's what life is. In short, life is extremely interesting.
Very interesting. You have been literally out of this world, away from the man-made rules and the structures and everything which is materialistic, man-made. Be it religion, be it AC, from a distance which is so great. What do you think about life then? When you're like away from all your relations and everything that's worldly.
I think it is necessary for the viewer to understand the context in which, or the frame of reference, shall we say, of where I've been. The question about what are the changes which take place in one's viewpoint about life per se when one is in this unusual environment like space. One must presuppose that one has gone there not to work, but basically as a tourist. In my case, I had gone there to work. So, and it's a very challenging environment in the sense that space flight is extremely expensive, and therefore each minute, each second of your activity out there is planned for. So you do not have much time for a flight of fancy. You do not have the, shall we say, the frame of mind to let your thoughts soar and to really appreciate beauty. Of course, beauty is something which hits you in the face when you're in space. When you look at the vastness of the cosmos, of course, it drives home the point that we are all very insignificant. But then, like they say, you don't really need to go to space to come by that feeling. If you find that you're one of those guys who have to go into space to realize our actual place in the universe, then we have some other problem.
Okay. So when we are here in this world, living in a society, we have a lot of issues that we face. We have domestic issues, we have issues with the government, and there is terrorism, there is corruption and plumbing issues. When you have this God's point of view, in a way, you're looking at this, all these issues from such a great distance. Do they all seem very meaningless, or life has a very different meaning altogether?
Just to let you know what one gets to see from space, or perhaps it's better to tell you what you don't see. You don't see boundaries from space of countries, and so obviously then one wonders that why are we spending so much time in fighting for a territory in a place, and then when you look outside and then you see that there is no other habitable planet till the eye can see, and the eye can see for light years away from space. So, and then you wonder as to why we can't live on this planet Earth with peace and brotherhood, because this is the only planet we will ever have as it stands. Of course, the resources are limited, so we need to create a situation where you're going to share rather than fight, because as Gandhiji has said that our planet Earth does not have has enough for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed. And I think the case in point was demonstrated recently in Japan when there was the meltdown of their reactors after a kind of a tidal wave. How the society, the community out there never went berserk. They never went to the stores to start hoarding stuff, but they knew that this is all they have till help can get to them, and they shared it. Now that is what humanism is. And I think for our human race to survive on planet Earth, we need to come by that feeling, that inclusive feeling of brotherhood and tolerance, so that our species can continue for a long time.
Okay. According to you, what should be the basic ingredients of life, or for human beings? What are the basic things they need besides food and water? Like,
I think what people really need, and this one has seen, if you look at the communist experiment or in the Soviet Union, where the people were assured of a house, they were assured of education, but they did not have freedom of speech. So the human being is a creature which needs to he needs to be able to express himself at various levels. So it is not enough to just be provided your basics if you're unable to express yourself and you're not allowed to express your opinion. So I think basically for life to be lived happily, what one needs is a clear balance. What one needs is something which is self-imposed. So we need to celebrate the fact that we are not animals, that we are human beings, and therefore we must act from that center. And being human beings, our thinking should be a level higher than animals. And so it brings me back to the point of having to find ways and means to share, to have inclusive growth rather than exclusive growth.
how important do you think spirituality is to humanity?
I think spirituality is all important. Yeah, having been in the field of science and having had the good fortune to have worked at the cutting edge of science. I don't mean only in military aviation, where I was a test pilot and I got the chance to test the latest technologies which we were dealing with, but also in space. And having been that route, many a time one comes against a wall and one is unable to understand, or shall I say that one gets to see what are the limits of science. Of course, this everybody knows, that if you practice science for the sake of practicing science, without it being tempered with a conscience, then you will end up in the situation we are in today, which is science is what has made nuclear weapons possible. Whereas, had there been a conscience, we would have focused more on the part of science whose applications are designed to help the people back on Earth. And one case in point for that is, say, what the Indian Space Research Organization has done. It has been focusing on applications. Thanks to the Indian Space Research Organization, their research, their work in the field of satellites has given us good imagery, has given us telecommunication, has given us a footprint for teleeducation and telemedicine. So if you use science as a tool to make our lives more productive on Earth, I think that's the better way to go, and that is possible only if it is tinged with spirituality. Science for the sake of science without conscience is asking for trouble.
And do you think religion and spirituality are the same thing, or you think there is anything else to it?
I think, in my view, religion is an interpretation of how life should be, in the sense that it is a kind of a shortcut, a method by which you're spreading the word, though, and which is why we see a common thread going through all religions. So if you practice religion without understanding what it is that you are practicing and why some tenets are there, then it becomes kind of meaningless. So if you look at spirituality, I think a lot of that depends on your own belief, and if you remain focused and you look at your real life experience. For example, if looking at myself, if I think back at the various situations where I came out of dangerous situations, when rationally I shouldn't have been able to come out, but yet I've come out of it. And then how do you interpret that? Either you interpret it saying that I could do that primarily because, well, I'm such a hot shot, or you could say that it's ordained that I continue living for a while. So I think we must accept the fact that there is a force which is above us, which we have not yet got a handle on, we are unable to understand. You can give it any name. You can give it the name of God. You can give it the name of religion or the way of life. But that's what it's all about. We need to understand that there is something out there which is above us, which is bigger than us, and we should leverage that to live our lives. Religion by itself, like I said, it all depends on the way it has been presented, the way it has been understood by the masses, and the way it is practiced. If it is superficial, then you're going to have the strife which we continue to see. But if you allow spirituality to come into it, you get a deeper understanding of what life is all about and the way it was meant to be.
So, coming back to religion, religion is a very man-made element in life, and it has been distorted and probably amended by various forces and people and over a generation of years. Rituals have been a very important aspect of every religion. What do you have to say about it?
I believe, like every other pursuit in life, we have to be aware of the changing environment. For example, you take 2 generations back, people were not as questioning as they are today. They would never question stuff. Like, if your parents told you something, well, that's the way it was done. But in our generation, we want to know why. So as generations progress, you're going to be having people who are constantly going to question. So religion, if religion remains static, if it is not alive to the fact that it's not only the message, it is how the messaging is handled, you will not have an impact. Although all religions talk about the same thing, but if you are unable to find innovative ways of addressing it, for example, even in our own society, our society consists of various stratas of people. So if you're going to have a single messaging vehicle, then it's not going to impact all the various stratas. So therefore, I think messaging and the way you go about it is extremely important. So religion must be dynamic, the messaging must be clear, and it must certainly, the way it is presented needs to be altered also. Like in the past, if the Pandit said, this is the way it's done, that's the way it's done, and he wouldn't have the time to explain why. In fact, he would consider it an affront if somebody is questioning him. Whereas it won't work like this in the future. So you need to have some changes occurring in the messaging part. Otherwise, religion becomes defunct.
Is it possible for a person to be non-religious but being spiritual?
But of course, it's absolutely possible because religion is just, according to me, it is just the framework which tells you if you want to remain within it. I mean, what those boundaries are, and if you are one of those fortunates who has understood those boundaries by his own life experience, then I mean, it's rather a bold thing to say that you don't need religion, but if you grasped the essence of spirituality, then I believe you have moved forward. And religion per se is just the framework. So a lot of people, you cannot get spiritual, I believe, without having been religious at some point. So it's a kind of a progression.
Are you spiritual?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Would you want to elaborate on that? How do you define spirituality as your personal definition?
I'm not very good at definitions, but how would I define spirituality? I would say if you have the confidence, if you have the understanding and the belief that your core belief, if it says that as long as I am good, I don't do harm to anybody, as long as I've been ethical, that I am going to get all the breaks that come my way and I will have deserved it. And I think if you truly believe in that, and if that's the path you choose, and if you have the wherewithal to remain on that path despite all the pulls and pressures which contemporary life puts on us, then I think you deserve all that you get, and that really is the path of a spiritual person. For him, he's okay whether he gets it or not, because he knows that there is a saying that there are times when you feel that God hasn't heard your prayers. There's no such thing. I think God hears everybody's prayers all the time. Sometimes the answer is no. So you need to kind of get used to that fact that you cannot have everything your way all the time. Everything is not under your control. And the earlier you accept it, not intellectually, but deep within, the happier you will be, the more productive member of the society will you be.
Okay. Now coming to happiness and satisfaction, they go pretty much hand in hand. But which one do you think is more important?
I do not believe they are in the same domain, happiness and satisfaction. Satisfaction, I think, is something more limiting. You are satisfied with a certain state of affairs, whereas happiness is a state of mind. And I think happiness is something worth striving for.